Good morning, guys. Good morning. I've got a treat for you guys. Andy has got me so damn fired up from last night. We gotta continue. We gotta continue the role play. We gotta continue it. So, this is what I'm thinking. Are you guys ready for this petition? We're about to do a petition on Andy Elliott. You guys ready for this? Okay. So, I need you guys, if you really like by show of hands, who was on the call last night? Who was on Andy's call last night? Okay, so 90% of you guys. Okay, beautiful. Did you guys like that role playing? Wasn't that awesome? Wasn't that freaking cool? Like, who in the hell, how in the heck could you even freaking sell coffee like that, Alan? Like, it doesn't even make sense, right? I'm like, bro, what? So, you know how Andy's been going crazy about these little Manek deals? Well, I want to petition his ass, and I want him to do role playing every Sunday. So while we've got a few people in the chat right now, put a 1 in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you want to see Andy do some role playing every single Sunday on top of his message. Oh, wow. Okay, so I ain't the only one. I'm not the only one. Okay. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna let some more people in. This is what we're gonna do. He's obsessed with this Manek stuff about kicking PBD's butt every single month, right? So this is my ask of you. My Manek that I sent to him last night was, hey bro, can we do these role plays every Sunday? That's what I asked him. But I'm only one person, right? I mean, I work for the guy. I've been with him for over 6 years now. I want to see more of that stuff. I love seeing how he just comes up with stuff and it makes sense, right? So, this is my ask for you guys. At the end of this call, figure out if you've ever left him a Manek, whatever it is. I want to do this. I want so many people to say, hey Andy, can you do more role playing on your Sunday calls? That he literally makes that a minimum of half his calls every single Sunday. So that way you guys can role play with him, because we got a lot of motivation, we got a lot of mindset in our training. All you gotta do is go watch the recordings. But I like that new fire, because like that's what hooked me with Andy when I first started training with him 7 years ago. 2018, 2019 was how he said stuff, and I'm like, bro, what did you just say? Oh my gosh, say that again. I love it. And obviously you guys too, because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. There's 41 ones in the chat from people that wants to see Andy role play. So if we could blow him up with a message that says, hey Andy, could you do role playing every Sunday? If you could do that, I've already put it in our entire group chat for our company. I've already done it on my Manek. I've already sent Andy a personal text message. But who does Andy love to please? You guys. Yes, he loves his team, but he wants to please you guys. So, with that being said, can we collectively all do that? Can we do that today? Can we send him that message, say, hey, I want to watch role play on Sunday? Okay, beautiful. Now, let's get into the training. So you guys know I always come prepared. I don't wing anything, because at one point in time I was a professional winger, and sometimes I hit it out of the park, sometimes I didn't. So now I like to prepare. And you guys know we're on week 4. So what are we going to title our papers today? Week 4 is going to be build your follow-up scripts. Build your follow-up script. And just to let everybody know, I'm not a fan of scripts. I'm not. But you know what I am a fan of? I'm a fan of frameworks. I'm a fan of knowing what to do before I even do it. So week 4, we're going to be building your follow-up script. All right. And this is going to be a very, very short training. Okay? So all the people that are watching this live right now, all the people that are watching this recording, this first 10, 15 minutes is going to be really, really powerful. But it's only going to be for a short amount of time. Okay? I'm going to literally break down my process on how I follow up at the Elliott Group and what's been able to help me collectively do some things that most people have never even done in their entire life. So, this is how I want to start the call. I want you to put yourself in this shoe. Okay? I want you guys to put yourself and just listen to me for a second, and maybe you felt this way, maybe you haven't, maybe you're like, oh my gosh, he's talking directly to me. Good. So check this out. Let's say you get to the end of a sales call and the prospect says, hey, I'm not interested, or hey, it's just too much money, or whatever BS objection that they give you. Now, a couple weeks, couple days, couple months go by, and you want to figure out how to turn this old lead into a gold lead. You see, most people in this situation, what are they going to do? They're just going to ignore the entire pipeline, right? They're just going to let the lost lead go because they've already got rejected, and they think there's no way this person's going to buy in the future, or they call them up with some terrible line, and they leave a voicemail saying, yeah, I'm just looking to follow up with you. I see some smiles. That doesn't work, okay? That doesn't work, and they're never going to end up getting that sale because they sound desperate. And they also sound like every other Tom, Dick, and Harry that's calling them. Now, if what I just mentioned sounds familiar and you want to know how to follow up with old leads without sounding desperate, this is exactly what we're going to go over, because I'm going to show you exactly how to do so. Does that sound fair? Is that cool? Is everybody okay with that? Let's rock and roll. Okay. This is a non-negotiable. Okay? And I've got 4 things that you're going to write down. Okay? The first little headline, what we're going to call this is, after you finish a call, like, write this down. After I finish my call, these are non-negotiables. After I finish my call, these are non-negotiables. The first non-negotiable is going to be update our CRM within 24 hours. What does that mean? Well, update CRM within 24 hours means when I'm taking notes, and I've got notes on each prospect, each client that I talk to, I'm going to put everything that I gathered from that call inside of my CRM. And then I'm going to move them to the pipeline that they need to be in. Okay? I'm going to move them to the pipeline. Maybe it's a hot lead. Maybe it's warm. Maybe it's cold. Maybe they bought something. You've got to keep your CRM cleaned out. So within 24 hours, move it. Number 2, you've got to add your call notes. You've got to add your call notes. If you offered them something, you need to write down what you offered them. You've got to gather the data. Remember, moving them from the pipeline, we also need to gather the data and put it on their name, so that way when I'm fixing to teach you how to reach out to people, you're not lost in the sauce, and you don't sound like you even remember talking to them, but you sound like you do remember exactly who they are, because guess what? You took good notes. Okay? Number 3 is the next steps with the client. Number 3 is the next steps with client. Maybe you didn't even feel like there was ready to be an offer made, and maybe you set up a date, a week, 3 days, 2 months before you even reach out and offer them something. Maybe you did offer them something and they wanted to do it, but it was like a logistical, hey, I literally don't have the money and you don't have any type of funding that you can provide them. What's that next step? And then number 4 is going to be the follow-up date. When do we reach back out with these people? Because if we don't book it, if we do not book it on the calendar, put it in our tasks to where our CRM tells us this is what we need to do, that lead's just going to sit in that pipeline and just not going to be touched. It's not going to be touched at all. It's just going to stay there, rotten, because we think it's an old lead. So repeating those: number 1, update CRM within 24 hours. Number 2, add call notes. Number 3, next step with client. Number 4 is follow-up date. Those are the 4. Next is we've got to categorize each lead status. We've got to categorize each lead status. So what do I mean? Well, the first one that we're going to talk about is going to be a hot lead. We've got hot lead. We've got warm lead. And then we've got cold lead. These are the 3 that we're working with. Hot, warm, cold. Now I'm going to go touch base on the hot leads. What does a hot lead mean? Jesse, what do you classify as a hot lead? What I classify as a hot lead is has an offer and finding or awaiting funding. A hot lead, they have an offer, you've presented something to them, and they're just looking for funding, they're doing something, they're literally in the red zone being ready to score a touchdown, which is a sell for you. That's what a hot lead is. Now, Brandon, this is going to be good for your team. How do we follow up with hot leads? Okay. Well, obviously you have them in their own separate pipeline, because remember we have the hot pipeline, the warm, and the cold. So on these hot pipeline, on the hot leads, the first thing that we're going to do with these, how we take care of these hot leads, is going to be daily follow-up. So number 1, we're going to go through 4 points here. Number 1 is going to be daily follow-up. Number 2 is going to be check funding process. Maybe you sell something where you have financing where maybe they're just waiting to get approved. Maybe they're sitting there waiting on the banks to say, hey, you're good to go. Maybe they had to go figure out how to come up with the money because they didn't have it. Number 2 is check funding process. Check it, make sure it's good. Number 3, these people are hot. They're hot. Number 3, we're going to share success stories with them. What does that mean? Testimonials, reviews. Send something that pertains, that reminds you of that client. Number 3, share success stories. Number 4 is address their concerns. Maybe you had to overcome a couple of objections and they didn't close right there, but you know they're right on the fence. You know they're right on the fence. Hey Isaac, I know that you was on the fence about doing this because you've been burnt in the past when it comes to personal development and getting some type of training. I wanted to send you this video testimonial because this is my client Luis, and he was also burnt in the past, but this is what he said about us. Boom. What am I doing? I'm addressing their concerns without just blowing their phone up. Are you ready to buy? 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 I'm not doing that. Daily follow-up, check funding process, share success stories, address their concerns. That's what we do with a hot lead. That's what we do with a hot lead. Now we're going to go into warm. What is a warm lead? What's a warm lead? A warm lead has pricing, but is not ready to buy. they didn't buy, something happened. So you could just put has pricing but not ready. Maybe you offered them something, maybe you screwed up and you didn't close them. Whatever it is, they have the price, they know what it costs, but they're not ready yet. How do we follow up with these people? Number one is we're going to follow up every few days. And what I mean by few days, anywhere from 2 to 5 days. That's a few, right? It's not a couple of weeks, it's a few days. Anywhere from 2 to 5 days. We need to be hitting them. We got to be hitting them. Follow up every few days. Number two, guess what? We're going to share valuable content. We're going to share valuable content. And that content that we share is going to remind them what originally made them decide to reach out to us. Maybe it's a Bible verse. Maybe it's a scripture. Maybe it's a motivational video. How can we share valuable content with them? Well, if you've done a good job to understand who they are, you'll know what to send them. You'll figure that out. Number three is we're going to monitor their interest. Number three is monitor their interest. Are they texting you back? Are they hearting your message? Do they answer your phone calls? If they're still doing all that, they're still interested, okay? And guess what you put in the chat? Guess what you put in your CRM? When you do reach out to them and they message back, you note it in the CRM. Because if you're dealing with hundreds and hundreds of leads and clients, do we want to know all the information? I want to click on John's name and it says, this is the last time I texted him, this is the last message, I've called him 4 times, he hasn't answered, but he's liking, this is a message he sent back to me. I know he's engaged. I'm monitoring his interest. I know. And number 4 on warm leads is going to be build the relationship. Build the relationship. They know why you're texting. They know that they told you they was going to do something, they backed out and they didn't. So we're going to build a relationship. Here's a little pro tip. I have in my notes on my phone, I have all of my offers for my clients, all of my offers. And maybe I didn't close them, maybe they wasn't ready, whatever the case was. And I frequently schedule out, I have little tasks that I'll put on my Google Calendar, Jack, where I'll say message hot prospects and I'll just text them. I'll send them a motivational video. I'll send them a new reel that I posted. I'll send them something. I'm going to send them something because guess what I'm doing? I'm building that relationship because most salespeople won't take 5 minutes out of their day to do that. They won't. They won't do it. I'll do it. I'll gladly do it. And then when the time comes, I don't have to close anything. They're already ready because I've built the relationship. Finally, now we're going to talk about the cold lead. What's a cold lead? So cold lead is 30 plus day timeline. That's a cold lead. That means we're going to reach out probably once a month. Cold lead is 30 days plus of nothing. They ghosted you. Okay, we moved it from hot to warm and they never followed up. They never showed interest in warm. Now we put them in cold. So for the cold's 3-step process is number 1, we're gonna check their progress. What happened? We're gonna check their progress. Have they hearted any of our messages? Have they texted us back? Have they returned any of our voicemails or phone calls? We're gonna check the progress. Number 2, we're gonna keep engaged like once a month. Maybe that's not a phone call every time, but a text message, sending them some value. And then number 3, we're going to share some free resources. We're going to share some free resources. And when we get done with this, we'll answer some questions and then we'll get into the role play as soon as we get done with this. Now check this out. I know this is a lot of great information, and I remember when I was learning this stuff, I'm like, well, like, how do I make sure that I'm doing all this stuff? Well, number one, you're gonna have to be disciplined, right? Discipline's gonna be super important. But you need to schedule in your calendars what I call weekly pipeline review. Right? Weekly pipeline review. Is it going to be on Thursday? Is it going to be on Wednesday? What's it going to be for you? Weekly pipeline review. And what that looks like is, remember, we have our hot pipeline, we have our warm pipeline, and we have our cold pipeline. So, let's just say mine's on Thursday for me personally. Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is, on weekly pipeline review, the first thing is going to be, I'm going to review all the leads. Number one, I'm going to review all the leads. Number two, I'm going to update their status. Maybe I sold them something and I forgot to put them in this old pipeline. I'm updating their status. And then number three, I'm going to plan the next actions. Review all leads, update status, plan next actions. Those are the three things that I'm going to do with on Thursdays for me personally on my weekly pipeline review. I'm going to look at all of them. I'm going to cherry pick which ones I think are the hottest. I'm going to call those first. I'm going to text them. I'm going to move them around, and I'm just going to look at I'm going to look at my pipeline. You hear people like, "Hey, my pipeline's dried up." Well, dude, you ain't put no water in your pipeline, bro. No wonder why it's dried up. Make sure you're reviewing this. Make sure you're going over it. So what happens when it starts to get bottled up? There's a lot of stuff, that's just sitting there. What happens? Well, we need to constantly on these weekly, the pipeline reviews. We need to check. Is there any status changed? If there's nothing changed, we're going to leave it in the same pipeline. We're going to continue with the same plan. We're going to continue hitting it. We're going to figure it out. But we have to follow this schedule, right? Because if we're not actually calling our hot leads and our follow-ups, like, none of this is going to work. If we're not tracking our engagement, well then if I click on this guy's name and the only notes that I have is when I reached out 2 months ago, I don't even want to call that person because I don't have any notes. I don't have anything. I don't have any documents in there. I don't have anything. So that's why it's so important. 24 hours. Remember, every lead, no matter if it's an old one, if you've done something with that lead, called it, texted it, you need to document it within 24 hours. Because how I'm fixing to show you this framework of calling, it's going to sound weird if you're not at the forefront of their mind and you've been texting them, right? What do we do with all of these people? We've got to keep nurturing them. You've got to. It's okay. If they're not ready yet, we're going to keep nurturing.
Oh shit, I need to do something. Turn my whole finger off.
And then what happens? If it's a no, we keep nurturing, and next thing you know, if it's a yes, they have the funds, we're going to move them into our closed pipeline. Ready to close, it's time to move them. We've got to move them through these stages in these pipelines. This is called working your leads. And most people don't know how to do that because most companies, they don't train you on this stuff. They just throw you in there and you just have to figure it out. You have to do what I did, buy a bunch of courses and trainings and max out your credit card at 18 years old. But you'll figure it out eventually. You'll figure it out. So, I'm going to answer some questions really quick, and then we are going to dive right into role playing. So, raise your hand if you have any questions. Greg, you've got your hand up. We'll stay on this till you have all your questions answered, and then we're going to jump into role play. Is that cool with you guys? Sweet. Greg, what's up, bro?